Welcome, everyone, to the Success Elevated podcast. As always, I'm your host, Hayden Lee, and I am joined this week by a very special guest, Ryan Geiger, VP of Marketing and Sales over at Vital Solutions. Ryan, thanks again for coming on the podcast.
Yes, man. Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, this is going to be an awesome conversation today. We're really going to get into the weeds of all things Vital Solutions and what you guys are doing over there. But probably the most important thing is we get to sit down with Ryan and kind of chat with you a little bit about your career, your background, and what makes you passionate about restoration. So super excited to have you on. This is going to be a great conversation. I feel like you're I would consider a pretty well-known guy in the restoration space. And
Yeah.
so it's fun to have you on to kind of chat a little bit about this. So if you don't mind, I think kind of the first natural starting point, if you will, is let's talk a little bit about your career background and just kind of how you got to where you are today. What did you start doing? What's your degree in, if you have one? What you feel free to start at whatever piece or point in your life that you want to start at, but let's do a little bit of career background.
Yeah. How I got into this industry was I was just in college and, came home for summer breaks. And my grandparents lived next door to one of the sales managers for a franchise here in St. Louis. And I just honestly started working, just to have some money in my pocket, walking around money, and started as a technician. And listen, this is not easy work, right? We're
No.
dealing with some nasty things. So at first I was like, wow, this is different for sure. But the more and more I got training. The company that I was with took a liking to me and invested in me and got me into the IICRC trainings, things like that, to where I was able to advance pretty quickly and understand the business more of on the business side versus cleaning up people's feces and urine and things like
Right,
that, right? It's not
right.
the most glorious thing in the world. But yeah, so I started as a technician and just eventually worked my way up, and after about a 10-year stint, I was a general manager where I was in charge of hiring, firing. I actually had my own crew of about 10 people, and so I wore a lot of different hats. But the learning experience that I got was unbelievable. And then I got into the chemical manufacturing side, so it was both sides of the fence, which is why I am so passionate about certain products, because I've actually been the guy, doing the
Yeah.
cleanup, been the guy in the Tyvek suit, been in the trenches. And so when I come across something that I think is revolutionary or a game changer, if you will, I get passionate about it because I've actually done it, and I know that it'll help, the bottom line, help the guys and gals, make their job a little easier and safer, and everything that goes into that.
I love it. And I think that's a piece to this story that I think to your story that I think we could spend a lot of time on. So I want to keep that. I want to put a pin in that because I want to come back to that. You
Yeah.
kind of highlighted why that's important, but I want to kind of double down a little bit and just ask you. So obviously being a technician for a restoration company, like you mentioned, you get to deal with a lot of pretty quote unquote crappy situations at times,
Yeah.
right?
No pun
Or
intended.
right. And it's not the most glorious day job. And there's a lot of technicians out there that are putting in a lot of hard work.
Yep.
After that first bad job or that first long day of work, why did you stick around? Was it just something in your brain, or I guess why were you like, I'm going to stick this thing out and I'm going to stay in this industry? Or after a few months of working there, you weren't like, I have got to get out of here. What was it was it an interest, or was it just something that you loved how hardworking it was? I guess I'd love to just kind of hear, why did you stick
Yeah.
it out?
So what the truthful thing is, I didn't want to embarrass my grandfather, for
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
right? The guy stuck his neck out and gave my grandfather and me, obviously, the chance to earn a buck. But so that was one thing. I'll be truthful. I wanted to do my part, right?
right.
Hold my end of the bargain. Uh, One of the cool things, though, is no day is the same. Everything was different. Every job was different. Every circumstance was different, and I that was kind of cool because you didn't know, when you got that call and you get in that truck, you don't know what you're showing up to, and that
No,
is that's kind of cool. And I mean, we've seen the worst of the worst. So it was always like, what was it going to be today? And that was cool because no day was the same.
Right. I love that element to it because I think that's something that a lot of restoration guys really do love is that it's a new challenge every day. I feel like a lot of restoration guys get into the space from another blue collar type industry, right? Maybe they come from construction or whatever. And if you're framing, if you're a framer, that's all you do every day. It's the same
Right.
job. Granted, the houses might be a little different. There's probably some smaller challenges that might be slightly different, but for the most part, you're framing. You're hammering nails and you're cutting 2x4s, and that's just what you're doing. And the restoration world is just different, right? Like the restoration world is something new and challenging and different every single day. Yeah, the some of the processes might be the same. How you go about drying drywall is probably the same, but you're in a different home working with a different customer
Absolutely.
on something
Yep.
different every single day. And I love that. I think that's a unique piece that a lot of people that aren't in the industry don't know. Again, if you don't have the opportunity to, I guess, really kind of walk a mile in your shoes, like you don't
Hmm.
know that's what's cool about the restoration world, which I think, yeah, is a cool piece that you hit on there.
Yeah, it definitely keeps you on your toes again because you don't know what you're stepping into.
Yeah.
Literally. But yeah, I think it's exciting in that regard. Is you're not gonna, you're not gonna come across the same job.
Yeah.
Everything's different. New people, new environment. Um, so yeah, just it's not the same redundant, desk. I can sit behind a desk. You walk in, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's different every day.
So started as a technician, obviously.
Yep,
Eventually kind of got into the chemical manufacturing and chemical sales. Did you end up doing some sales for the restoration company as well?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, towards the end of my career, I was the guy that basically went into the insurance offices, the property managers, the commercial buildings, things like that, making sure that he knew about our services and where we were, location wise and the capabilities of our company. And that is, if anybody, has done that before, it's not easy
Yeah.
because there's a lot of companies out here doing the same thing. So, um, absolutely was behind the sales for that. Yeah.
So so to your point, yeah, I'm gonna lean on you a little bit. Do you think what was it about? What did you have a different process, I guess, when it came to the sales, or how did you find success when it came to sales in the restoration world? Because yeah, to your point, everybody is taking a plate of cookies to their insurance adjuster,
Yeah.
their insurance agents, right? Like everybody's doing that. Every restoration company is doing that. Like you're going into an insurance office and you're chatting it up with the office manager there, trying to, see if you can get a sit down with one of the agents. Why, I guess, how did you find success? Was there something you did to kind of separate yourself from these other restoration companies or the other companies in general that are just trying to get their foot in the door when it comes to insurance? What did you do something different, or was it just how you approached it? What did you do to find success there?
Yeah. I tried to think outside the box a little bit. I'd walk into an office and I'd see 4 or 5 notepads with 5 different companies, the big,
Yeah.
huge desk calendar,
Yep.
a basket of here and there, a cup or whatever, pen, and I'm like, well, I wonder how that's working. I don't know. I always tried to do different approaches, offer value first off to the insurance guy or adjuster or commercial building, whatever it may be. Um, be more of an advisor than a
Yeah.
salesperson, and then obviously try to find out what it is that they need. What are they not happy with? Is something going on that they just wish they could fix? And then if I had the solution, then I would dial down on that and offer it to them at the end. I wouldn't come in just saying, "Hey, we got 47 truck mounts and 92 air movers, and we can 24/7 and machine gun blazing." I tried to actually find out what it is that the customer needs versus just going in and selling.
I love that. I
And
love that.
again, I got no a lot, or I'm
Yeah.
happy with who I'm with. But after just keep dialing, what they call digging, asking questions, and finally, once what they call a pain would pop up, and then that's where you dive in and try to figure that out and provide a solution.
I love it. Yeah, I think that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a perfect way to approach sales, right? Is it just
Yeah.
sales in general is you've got to figure out what people need and do and does what you offer,
Yep.
does it solve that need, right? Can it accomplish or take care of that need or that pain point like you're talking about? And I think that's something that yeah, a lot of people miss. Again, when you're just there's a lot of restoration sales guys that are driving around right now that have a back seat full of those calendars or a
Yeah.
box full of those pens and are just dropping those off. Well, that's good. That's good in some instances because you want people to remember you. It's much more important that you take the time to sit down and be like, okay, what can we actually do to solve some problems for you or your customers? Do you get complaints a lot about certain restoration companies? Okay, what are they doing wrong? What are, I even like just a 5 minute conversation like that's going to go way further than, hey guys, here's a plate
Right.
of brownies and a pen. Like they're just not going to, eventually that's going to go away and they're not going to care about that.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta dig a little bit, ask questions. Again, with the pen drop off and the donuts, a lot of that you don't even get past the gatekeeper, right? That's a
Right.
front desk thing. You're not going in the back room.
Yeah.
So you have to find out first how to get past that gatekeeper, and a lot of that is asking questions and then trying to again find a pain. I would
Yeah.
say honestly, find a pain, something that's bothering them, something they wish they could fix. You know, because a lot of the companies do the same thing. We all do pretty much the same thing. So it's just asking questions, digging, finding that pain, and then most importantly, finding a solution.
Love it. Do
Yeah.
you, so you mentioned something a couple of minutes ago. Everybody in sales deals with the no's. Everybody is going to get a
Oh yeah.
no at some point, right? It's just a
Yeah.
matter of
Yeah.
time when it's going to happen, how many you're going to get that day, whatever, right? How was there something you did to kind of overcome a lot of those? Nope, I'm not interested. What did you, was it a strategy you had? Was it maybe just a mindset or a motivation? You're like, okay, I'm going to just keep moving on. How did you deal with, because I have friends that work in sales. My dad's worked in sales for a long time, and that's just kind of the nature of the business. You get a lot of people telling you no every single day.
Yeah.
How do you overcome that? I don't know if it's a challenge or that frustration. How do you deal with that?
Well, this is after years of experience, obviously,
Yeah.
but a lot of the times when you get a no, it's just a defense mechanism. Like, hey, I don't have time right now. They are interested. You just got to figure out what it is. So the no is just like
Yeah.
a wall, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to be annoying. You want to be persistent, but you also just really you want to get that guard down because everybody is guarded with salespeople, right? They're oh, here comes another one. So no, we're not interested. But you just gotta again ask good questions. Listen to what they're saying, but ask good questions. And then once they mention, I wish that this company wouldn't charge us for this. That's a pain for them. So now you got something to talk about and figure out how can we solve this problem for them. But the no in sales, I love hearing no. To be honest with you, I love it
Yeah.
just because it is. I know their defense. The defense is up. So once you get past that, then you know it's not easy by any means, but it starts off with a better foundation of hey, I'm more than just a sales guy. I'm actually trying to figure out how I can help your company as well. So
Right. Well, and
yeah,
again, I like the visualization of picturing no as it's a gatekeeper. Then you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Like I love that thought process of like no is just to get like there are gatekeepers when you go into an office, and there are people that are like, oh no, we're not interested. Like no is just a gatekeeper. So if you can
that's
find
it.
a way to navigate around the no and be like, okay, why are you actually saying no? What is the actual problem here? Oh, you were frustrated with how past restoration companies talk to your customers. Okay, well, how can we fix that? Or you were frustrated, yeah, like you're saying, how much restoration companies were overcharging, and we had to work with adjusters more, and there was a
Yep.
constant back and forth, and it took forever. The claims took forever to close, and all this stuff. Like if you can kind of find what those pain points are, then you get around that no, you get around that gatekeeper, right?
Yeah.
Whatever, however you want to picture that I think that's a way to that's a cool way to visualize it, at least for me, to be like, okay, we're going to start treating no as a gatekeeper, like you treat an office manager or a secretary. So how do we navigate around that? We ask questions, we do some things.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a good way to do it.
I think too, on the other side is some cases, they are happy with their
Yeah.
provider, whoever it may be, right? And so when you get that, you have to understand, hey, they've been using this company for, 10 plus years or whatever it may be, and they are happy. However, that's when you do the pop ins and you say, hey, I just want to let you know we're still here. Here's your pen, here's your donut, whatever. If anything ever happens, please call me. I'm available. But that call will happen. And when it does, you better be ready because that's your opportunity.
Right. Right.
So I want to say that too. There are cases to where you're not going to get the yes, right? They are satisfied, but just let them know you're lingering around waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. 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 That you're available to help if need
Yeah,
be.
that's
So
right. That's right.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So we were talking at the beginning and you kind of mentioned this piece and I wanted to obviously put a pin in it because I want to come back to it. So you work in sales in the restoration company, you're a technician, you worked in kind of the sales side of things, meeting with insurance agents and all of that. You decide to kind of go off and start getting into the chemical manufacturing piece to this. And
Yeah.
I want to talk in depth about what that is and obviously what you guys are doing at Vital Solutions, but talk a little bit because you mentioned it was cool getting into that and seeing, okay, I know the needs of a technician. So I'm going to either sell or build a better product that will help that technician do their job better. Did you see that as, or I guess when you first got in kind of the chemical industry, did you notice that that was a problem, that people were not necessarily concerned with the technician, the end user? They were more just concerned with the marketing of the product, I guess. Was that something that you identified? Oh, I'm going to be able to sell this because I'm doing it differently than other people in the chemical space. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. That's when I was approached with this particular product. You know, again, doing the work, being the guy in the 115-degree attic, sanding, scrubbing, wire brushing, all of that in a Tyvek suit. When I saw this product work, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to change the game big time. And so, at first I was obviously thinking selfishly, like, man, this is going to make our job so much easier. But
Right.
then obviously, with the chemical side is, what is this stuff? This is amazing. And it's not going to hurt you. It's not harmful, which is a big deal, because towards the end of my career, we had a packet of this much paperwork that we had to deliver to the customer to sign off on. Well, we're going to use this. Is this okay with you? And they got to sign off. And so obviously, the less that you could do that and offer them a safe product made the job easier as well. So it's kind of a win-win-win.
The Success Elevated podcast is brought to you by SOS Navigator. SOS Navigator is an on-demand training platform geared towards marketing, personal development, and business growth. We understand that as a business owner in the service industry, you wear a million hats. Let SOS Navigator be a simple and cost-effective way for you to continue to grow your business. Click the link in the show notes below and use code SOS Podcast to get 10% off your next on-demand training course.
I think that's something that is it's missed, and I'm not picking on the restoration world because I think it's missed in just about any industry where people develop a product or a tool that they think is really awesome, and it might be awesome for some people, but they're not necessarily concerned with the end user. And so it's cool that you were able to find because again, they're thinking, all they're thinking about is, oh, this chemical gets rid of mold. Okay, that's cool, but how is it going to make a technician's job easier, or how is it going to be
Correct.
safer for the homeowner? That's what's important. There's a lot of products out there that get rid of mold, but how can you make it easier for the technician to apply? How do you make it easier, safer for the homeowner? That's the crucial piece of this. And I feel like that's a common problem in so many industries where people are like more concerned with, okay, this tool accomplishes this one thing, but is it actually making it better for the actual user? Is it going to be better for the customer or better for their technicians or whatever, right? Like I think that's a cool attitude to have. And that's awesome that you recognized it from the beginning, that you were like, oh yeah, this is going to be a game changer.
Oh, absolutely. Because, again, the methods that I mentioned, the sanding, scrubbing, wire brushing in an attic, 115 degrees in a Tyvek suit, is brutal, right? It's absolutely brutal. There were some products out there, but again, the toxicity, of all that stuff.
Right.
I mean, it'll literally, in some cases could kill you if you're not careful, or burn your face off or, whatever. It's
Right.
just, there are products out there that do this stuff, but I mean, it comes with a cost, that's for sure. So that's when I took the leap. I was like, man, I see this being revolutionary. And, like to your point, end user, myself, the homeowner, company as a whole, liability, all that stuff went into that, and it was just a home run.
So we've kind of gotten right to this area now. Let's talk a little bit about let's get into more of the specifics of it, right? We've talked about kind of the strategy, what attracted you to it, but what is Vital Solutions? What do you guys offer? What separates Vital Solutions maybe from, yeah, like we've been mentioning a million others. We talked about some of the key points. It's better for the technician, better for the homeowner, but I guess what kind of, yeah, let's go in depth into Vital Solutions and what makes them different from all the others.
So, yeah, the vital oxide product is extremely unique in the industry because we use a chemistry that's a stabilized version. Chlorine dioxide has already garnered a lot of success in the industry for deodorization, some disinfecting capabilities, but it's in a raw form, right? Ours is a liquid form. It's got some surfactants mixed in it with some other chemistries that allow it to be a category 4 hospital grade disinfectant, which basically means there's no warnings on the label, right? So that's always a win. But it's a cleaner, deodorizer, sanitizer. It holds some claims and registrations that other products do not, and all the while the safety profile, being able to do all of that it's really unique in this industry. Doesn't have a strong potent odor as well, which I always say, excuse me, allows you to start working in hospitals, nursing homes, daycare, schools, where a heavy odor product probably isn't permitted. So I feel like it really checks all of the boxes that we need, for the industry. And then again, the safety is huge.
Oh yeah.
So it's a it's a no brainer to me. It's just you got to understand what you're working with and what it does and all the features and benefits of it. Um, then you're like, wow, this is really a unique product.
Well, and again, it's something it's a product or a I guess a yeah, it's a type of product that like restoration owners and businesses have been aware of for a long time, but I think something that is just now become much more of a priority since COVID, right? Like people are now aware
Yes,
of like we've got to get our business clean. We've got to actually take care of and make sure we're actually sanitizing this area or whatever, right? And I think that's like sanitization and things like that. That's become a much higher priority. Excuse me, for businesses recently than in years past. And I think, it's probably always been
big
something
time.
that restoration owners have been aware of, obviously. But I think even though with things that have happened in the world, I think it's become an even bigger priority. I would assume that's something you've noticed. Has it tapered off now that COVID's not as much of a thing anymore? Or do you still see a lot of business owners and obviously hospitals, it's important, but a lot of business owners that are still needing a product like this?
Yeah, so COVID was, as unfortunate as it was in our space, you know, for disinfecting purposes, it was insane. Uh, you would run out. Obviously, you would run out of product and that the active
Right.
ingredients, but if everybody was so in panic mode, you know, that they would literally get their hands on anything they possibly could that they thought would disinfect and clean and get rid of that COVID-19 or whatever. Um, with that being said, a lot of things came out of the market. Just a lot of what I call flash in the pan type products or snake oil type products, right? And that's unfortunate in this industry because it does happen. Um, but then once and what's cool about this industry is people do their research,
Yeah.
right? These guys are educated. They want to know, in some cases, right? They want to know what it is. What's the active ingredient? What the industry has come so far, since I was on the other side of the fence. really one of the things that I love about it is just the education and the information and all of the technologies have come so far. So these guys do their due diligence, if you will, and then they can sniff that stuff out, right? They can say, "Oh yeah, okay, I don't think that's going to be a long lasting, deal in our industry."
Right.
So um, that's why I'm excited about this. Is there's, I put it to the test, right? Proofs in the pudding. Um, I'm a big fan of. I could tell you all day long how good, how great it is, but until you actually use it and see for yourself and experience it, then you know that's how you make your decision. But
I love it.
yeah, just a lot of the COVID was interesting because just so many disinfectants and
Oh yeah.
sanitizers were coming out of nowhere.
Well, and I love that you highlighted something that I guess I'd probably thought of, but maybe not put two and two together that, yeah, like there was so many of those products coming out and so many, so it was hard to know what's actually legit and what's just, water in a can that I'm spraying
Right,
on my, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do I know what's legit? And so there was probably a lot of opportunity for you guys to be like, no, we have the science to back up what we're saying. Like,
yeah,
yeah, we're saying this is going to disinfect and sanitize and do all this stuff, but we actually know what we're talking about, and it's
correct, yeah,
because you've been in the industry for as long as because you guys have worked with restoration companies and all of that stuff, you can kind of tout a lot of that much more than just, oh yeah, we're this magic spray, or I mean, you looked on like Amazon during that time, and there was all these like tools that claimed, oh yeah, put your phone in this and it sanitizes it, right? Like all of this
right,
weird stuff that's like, who knows if it's actually doing what it says it's doing. And
correct,
it's
yep.
cool that you can offer something that can actually do what it's marketing that it can do, right? And
Oh yeah,
I love
absolutely,
that.
yep, yep.
Um, with all of this, and I think this is kind of the piece that I'd love to kind of learn a little bit more about from you, because obviously now instead of selling a service in your restoration days, you're now selling a product. Right now, you're selling that
Right.
product to restoration businesses and stuff like that. But what's different about your role when it comes to sales? And maybe this is kind of be a two-part question. What's the same when it comes to sales in your role now with Vital Solutions, and maybe what's different about selling a product versus like selling a service?
Hmm. Well, the whole process is pretty much the same: prospecting, right? And knowing that there are so many options out there. But again, it's finding that differentiator. What is it that you wish your current disinfectant did that it doesn't? Or is it a price thing? Is it too high? Is it is it dangerous to work with? Does is it solving this solution? There's just a lot of, again, questions, right? You got to ask those questions. And what's cool about what I do is I'm very familiar with the industry and what is out there. Um, so I know, right? And so that's, for me, it's kind of easy when I approach a contractor and say, "Hey, you're going to want to look at this. You're not going to see this around. This is not a duplicate or a me too, they call it. This actually is a differentiator in the market and definitely could be a game changer. And here's why."
Yeah.
And then you just kind of go down the list, and then you see that light bulb go off. Then they're like, "Wow, wait a second," and they'll start asking questions to you, and that's what you want.
Right.
So
I love that. I think that's the cool piece about that when it comes to sales, that I think a lot of people don't necessarily know, is that a lot of these tools, a lot of the tools that you learned when you were there, like translate. You can use them in this industry just like you were using them in restoration. And again, it goes back to your tie-in. Like you can speak, you can figure out what the problem is, figure out what the pain point is, and solve it
yeah,
using your solution. And a lot of times you can probably anticipate the pain points because you worked in that industry. Hey,
yeah,
oh yeah, I know the product you're currently using, and it takes twice as long to clean or twice as long to disinfect, or you have to use more product, or yeah, it's harmful to you or the homeowner, right? So you can
yep,
be like, hey, I have a product that solves that pain point for you. And
yeah,
um it's a lot of similar to what you were talking about earlier. It's a lot of identifying pain points, figuring out finding the gatekeepers, whether it's a person or just them saying no, right? And kind of finding a way to be like, okay, but why is it no? Is it, yeah, because of the price or whatever? And I
yeah.
love that all translates. Has there been Has there been, yeah, like a big difference for you or a big challenge you've had to like learn how to do differently because it is a product?
Uh, Not really.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of lucky in that regard, is because for one, the product is absolutely amazing. So I'm very passionate about it, and I think I
Right.
deliver that to the contractor when I'm making a phone call or even in person. Um, but again, the product is outstanding, so that's easy, right? When you have a product that actually does do what you say it's going to do, that makes your job 10 times easier. But being passionate about it, believing in it, um, that goes a long way too. And I think people can kind of get that vibe from you, when you're talking. But the whole, just the whole sales process it's pretty much the same
Right.
with anything where you're selling tractors or chemicals. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Prospecting and all those things you were
yeah,
talking about. Yeah.
yeah, and I think honestly, it's finding the solution, or being the solution,
Yeah.
finding what's wrong. There's a pain there somewhere, I guarantee you. And if there's not, there will be eventually. So
Right.
just you got to ask questions and dig and dig and dig.
Love it. That's
Yeah,
a great thing for sales that I think, yeah,
yeah,
is just missed a lot. And I love that you've kind of identified that is the key piece to it. Um, Similar to this, and again, I want to make sure we kind of get the final plug for Vital Solutions and obviously what you guys are doing. But you've talked a lot about just kind of the relationships you've built, or how you've been able to have success when it comes to sales. I go back to this a lot, and it's something that we've talked about a lot on this podcast with different restoration business owners or affiliates in the industry. Relationships are a huge piece to this industry, maybe more so than just about any other. That
right,
building relationships is hugely important. And I would say that's probably been, you know, how, or a piece to why you've been so successful is you've been able to build relationships and people know who you are and they respect you and all of these things. How have you been able to build relationships throughout your career that obviously they helped you when you were in restoration, but they've also now helped you on this chemical manufacturing side of things? Is it something you do, or is it just something that you're passionate about? How have you been able to build so many, I guess, successful relationships?
one of the I mean, your word is your bond, right? For one, you have to be
Yeah.
accountable, you have to be trustworthy, you have to be genuine, you have to be passionate for sure. That's why I said I'm kind of lucky in that regard. As the product is absolutely amazing, so I'm very passionate about it, and in the previous one as well. Um, but doing what you say, not saying things that people just want to hear, to sell product, because they're taking it in somebody's home under the belief that it's going to do this or whatever, and it doesn't, and it could affect them or the homeowner. So it's very important that you speak the truth, right? In this industry is very big but very small, and word travels fast. So I think it's just being genuine, being true, being accountable, being reliable, um, and being able to answer questions, being knowledgeable, obviously staying up to date with everything that's going on in the industry. Because again, I was telling you, these guys are educated, man. They are
Yeah.
they're doing their due diligence on a lot of stuff because they're dealing with humans.
Right.
If something goes wrong, sometimes it can be really bad. So they have to do their homework too, and as much as easy as you can make it. Um, because of the knowledge that you can give them on your stuff, then I think the better. So
Love it.
just a combination of just being, I just being real, just that's it really. Just being real, accountable, true to your word, things like that.
It's awesome, Ryan. And I think
Yeah,
that's the perfect way to describe obviously how you've built your career. And I think again, something that's missed in the world. I wouldn't take that for granted. I think that kind of speaks to who you are, and you've
yeah,
obviously built an awesome career, and I think that's that's something that a lot of people do take for granted, that like, hey, you should just be accountable and be a person of your word, like be a man of your word or whatever, right? Like you should people should be able to rely on you and count on you, and you can tell
Right.
them this is going to make them successful, and it does make them successful, right? Like
Yeah.
something as simple as that it can be a huge deal for a lot of
Yeah,
people out there. And
absolutely. And don't be afraid to say, yeah, you know what? My product doesn't do that, or because
yeah,
they appreciate that. They
yeah,
they would appreciate that a lot better than you saying, yeah, I think so. Yeah, go ahead and try it. No, just tell them, don't be afraid. It
yeah,
doesn't do that. I'm sorry. We'll
yeah.
work on it, or whatever. But um, yeah, that goes a long way, a really long way.
That's cool. Well, Ryan, I appreciate it. I think you've offered some awesome insights, and there's a couple more questions I want to wrap up with, but
Yeah.
first, I want to give you the opportunity. Where can people, if they're interested in learning about what you guys do over at Vital Solutions, where can they find you guys? If they want to learn more about the Vital Oxide product, yeah, where can they find you guys or connect with you?
Yeah. So for any information, please contact me directly.
Okay.
rgeiger@vitalsolutions.com. Being an ex restoration guy, this thing is like attached to me. So call me at 636-485-3120 anytime. I don't care if it's nights, weekends, or whatever. And then obviously you can find out a little bit more on the product at vitaloxide.com.
Love it.
But we're hands on, we're aggressive. We'll send you a sample. Again, proofs in the pudding. So I could tell you all day long how good it is, but until you experience it yourself, you won't know. So anything that you need in that regard, don't hesitate to reach out.
Love it. Thanks, Ryan. Um, Close out our podcast. You've been awesome. You've provided some awesome insights into both your career and just how you've built relationships and how you've been successful in sales, all of those things. And I think our audience is going to get a lot of really awesome value out of it. I want to close by asking the same questions I ask all of our guests. It's kind of a cool way to kind of unite all of our guests, regardless of industry, regardless of what we talked about during the podcast, and kind of these last couple of questions. First question: favorite book or podcast that you've read or listened to recently, or that you've read in the past that you just really enjoy?
Yeah, there's this guy. I think his name's Hayden. He does a podcast. Uh,
It must be somebody else, Hayden, somebody else.
Success.
Yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's called Success Elevated or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Really,
That
really
podcast I
good.
hear is pretty good. I hear it's pretty good.
um, no, I listened to a lot of different podcasts and books, but I actually put this. I've been reading this. And I think everybody
Oh
should
yeah,
should read this. I don't know if you have or not,
I haven't, but
but
I've heard of it.
it's great, man. It just really different trains of thought. Staying positive in situations where most people, it's quick to go downhill, and there's always a bright side. And so this book really has allowed me to, even my personal life, obviously, just develop a healthy sales attitude, business attitude, service attitude, career attitude, and then it's just yes attitude. Just have that positivity all the time if you can.
For
So I would highly recommend this.
for those that are listening, it's a little book of yes, right?
Yeah. Yep. Little Book of Yes.
Little gold book of yes. That's right. I couldn't remember the full.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
Yep.
So for
Jeffrey
those of you
Gitomer.
listening, that's I've heard. I've had several other people recommend that to me, and so I need to get it added to my list.
Yeah. Again, it's helped me personally and in business. So I highly recommend it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Second question. You talked a lot about kind of the being in the career that you're in. It's a lot of phone calls, it's a lot of emails. I mean, you just gave a plug and were like, call me anytime. I'm
Yeah.
sure that leads to occasionally some long days and wearing a lot of hats and having to solve problems for your customers. How do you relax at the end of a long day? How do you recharge your batteries, and how do you to make sure you're taking care of yourself?
Yeah. Well, I have two kids, so I don't get to relax.
Not a
Uh,
lot of relaxation. Okay.
yeah, they keep me really busy. Honestly, I like to kind of reflect at the end of the day of what I accomplished and what I have building up to the next day. So that keeps me, you got to sales. Obviously, you got to keep that pipeline full. They say. Um, so I love having stuff to look forward to. The following day. and maybe just to relax, I might get to catch a Seinfeld episode
Love
here
it.
and there. I'm a big Seinfeld fan, so if we're not doing sports or something, during the evening, I'll watch an episode of Seinfeld, relax.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Or Monday Night Football, or
Monday Night Football.
Thursday
Watch a
Night
little
Football, or
yeah, yeah. Watch some football. That's a great way to
yeah,
do it. I
yeah,
find that finding some of those times in the day when you can kind of just shut your brain off, and yeah, it's Seinfeld, something on Netflix, it's football, right? Something to kind of let your mind relax a little bit and calm down.
yeah.
That's a great way to do
I'm a
it.
huge
So,
baseball guy as well.
oh yeah,
So obviously, it's not baseball season, but during the season, I enjoy watching the St. Louis Cardinals. So that helps me. Sometimes helps me relax.
it might add a little bit to the stress, but for the most
Depends on
part,
who's pitching.
yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Last question. You've talked about some really awesome things here today, and I think
Yeah.
we've kind of covered a whole bunch of stuff. But if you could rewind to the beginning of your career, Ryan, and
Mhm.
tell younger Ryan one thing, what would that one thing be?
It's going to be a lot of bumps and obstacles along the way. And again, stay true to who you are. Don't give up. Keep that grind. Never stop grinding. Hard work is, that's what it's all about, right? You're not gonna get success without the work. That's really what I would say is, if you think it's going to happen without doing it, you're wrong. So keep pushing forward every day. Try to educate yourself every day. Learn something new. And then again, with those no's that you're going to get, don't let it get you down. Just keep pushing forward, and good things will start happening. Doors will start opening.
Love it.
Yeah.
Ryan, that is a perfect way to close out our podcast. Really appreciate you coming on. Talked about some awesome stuff. Again, I think a lot of our audience is going to really appreciate. And just really appreciate you coming on. And we hope to talk to you again in the future.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me so much.
Thanks, Ryan.
Don't forget, vitaloxide.com, R. Geiger at vitalsolutions.com, and then most importantly, 636-485-3120.
Perfect. There you go. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll talk to you later.
This has been Success Elevated, making you a little bit better one show at a time. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe on YouTube or any other major podcast platform to listen to more episodes. We are proudly brought to you by Spot On Solutions. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you grow your business, please check us out at spotonsolutions.com.